Hello fellow map makers, welcome to another live map making session. I hope you're doing fine, enjoying the spring here in the northern hemisphere, or the fall on the other side of the world. And I hope you're looking for some more map making tonight, because that's what I'm gonna do. I'm Ralf Schemmann of Pro Fantasy Software, and I want to show you the latest annual issue today. Another beautiful overland style by one of our favorite mappers of all time, Sue Daniel. So, hi Sue, she's in the chat. Thank you very much for another great style. And I'm sure you'll point me to things I'm doing wrong or could do better with this style if I do something strange. All right, so we've got quite a few people come in the last few minutes. At first it looked like it was just Sue and me there in the chat, and then just everybody started popping in, and that's very nice. Great to see all of you. It's been a while since I've been on screen. Hope you enjoyed Remy's session as much as I did, watching it later last week. And so let's see where we get with the annual style here. If you haven't downloaded it yet, it's if you've subscribed to the Cartographer's Annual, it is available on your registration page. If not, what are you doing? Do subscribe to the Cartographer's Annual 2025 and get it. All right, so if you've got any questions, as usual, put them in the chat, please. We'll be happy to answer anything that we can here on screen. I'll be happy to show stuff. And if you enjoy our map making, please do give the channel a like and a subscribe to show YouTube that it should be shown to other people as well. All right, so let's get going here. So I've got the sample map from the annual on screen, but we are going to start a completely fresh one. So I'm going to click the new map icon up here on the left and choose the map type overland maps, decide settings myself, click next. And there we are already at the two versions of the style. There's really not much difference. The only difference really is in the labeling of the units, like in the scale bar and the grid settings. Everything else will look pretty much the same between the two styles. So we're going to just use the Imperial version here, our default one, to start the map. We do get the dimensions here, which we could change, but I want to change my map size after creating the base map. The reason is I want to keep the default symbol scale that Sue has created in the style, because this kind of represents actual physical landscapes, so they should not get larger as you increase the map size, which it will do if you set the dimensions here to a larger size when creating the map. So I'm just gonna click finish here, go to my videos folder for fantasy streams, to our current mapping session, and then I'll just call it my map here to start with. And there's my basic map. Now I'm going to set the new size I want to use. I'm going to quickly double check my default settings here on the draw properties, and the symbol scale is 1. That's what I wanted. And it will also mean that all the symbol fills are at the scale that Sue created for the style. So I do want to make the map a little bit larger, because 1000 by 800 miles is a bit small for a continent. I do want to make it a little bit larger. So I'm going to go to File and go to Resize Drawing Area. And then I'm going to do a 2400 by 1600 miles map. Finish and do a zoom extends. And there's my map. A little wider in relation to its height. That's more convenient just for my showing here on the video screen. Okay, so the next step is creating our landmass. Oh, well, we do have landmass already complete with the green background. Everything is land in this style. This is because Sue has set it up that the basic, the default background is the land style. And what we do, we don't draw the landmass by default. We draw the sea. So we could just simply switch that around by drawing the sea rectangle over everything and then starting with the default tool, but that was most convenient if you draw a continent that is completely enclosed by the map border. But I do want to stick to the map border a little bit, so basically just do a subcontinent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by drawing the sea, and I've got the sea default part. Ocean is the set drawing tool I want to use. And I'm thinking of something a little bit like the tip of South America, something nice and narrow with a long mountain range along side and perhaps some deserts on the coast. So that's my general idea. So but I'm not gonna do it straight north-south because that's not convenient to my screen size here. So I'm gonna angle it a little bit, and I'm gonna start outside the map border, and then I'm just gonna draw my coastline here. And normally I would take a little bit more time and care to do the coastline, because having a nice and good coastline is always very important for a good looking map, but that can take a little bit long and will be boring on screen here. So I'm going to do this a little bit faster than I might do it with other maps, and just go here. And then I'm back at the map border. Now I'm not going to close it here now, because that will give me the inside of this polygon I've drawn as my sea. I do want to have the outside, so I'm going to go around the map border instead. You'll see this does not snap to the map border as such. That's to take care of sheet effects. So they are not shown on the map border. But there's a screen entity on the map that will hide everything that extends beyond the border. Now I'm back here where I started. I'm going to right click and do a refresh, and there you can see I've got my landmass showing inside the sea I've drawn. And I've got a little bit of the sea extending beyond the map border there, and I can always extend the screen entity later. I'm not going to bother about this here, although I can just do a little bit of extra and add a little tool. So I could edit this and remove all these fractal outlines outside, which I don't need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here. No, actually I want to go in here, and I'm gonna click at the advanced button, and I'm gonna do a copy of this drawing tool and default part ocean edit. It's what I'm gonna call it. And for the editing, I'm gonna turn off the fractal and make it a straight polygon instead. It's got all the same settings. That means I can now use the edit function on this tool on the landmass I've drawn, and I'm gonna just go around and remove all the fractal stuff. So I just have straight lines around the edge and no extra nodes that just won't be shown anyway, and that makes everything a little bit easier to handle. Alright, so I've got a nice jagged coastline, and I can always go in later and edit it if I wanted to make it even more beautiful. So I could, but I'm just gonna add some islands, and for these I'm gonna do the oh, I'm on the wrong one again. I need to go here, and oh, actually no, this is the island. Where's my, no, there we are. I did click the wrong button there. That's what I'm looking for. That's the cutout tools for that cut out holes into the landmass. And click there. And you see it draws a pink or magenta polygon, but if I refresh, you'll see that due to the sheet effects cuts a hole into the sea, and you see the background, the green background through that, and the sheet effects get applied properly. There we go. You'll see in a second what the advantage is of doing the landmass as holes, basically, and it makes a few things more easy to draw, but it can be a bit counterintuitive at first, so you've got to wrap your head around it. There we go, and there's my islands, and I'm good with that. So next off, I could go on and add a few sea contours to this whole thing. So I'm going to have a look at my contours. This is actually for the land contours. It's going to be in the, see, here's the ocean contour. And I'm going to grab that and just outline the area I want my deeper ocean to be. Do a refresh, and you can see Sue's texturize effect turn this gray smooth polygon into a nice ocean contour. There we go, and we can also use this for smaller patches if you want to break the light blue up a little. Refresh, and there's my dark ocean contours. Okay, and now we'll have a look at some of the interior contours and terrain features. For example, I want to keep the eastern edge lush and green like this, but I want to make the general left side, the western side of the continent, sparser. And so I'm going to put a less dark green on this. Like here, let's start with the grassland, poor of that. So basically I'm just going to keep the very rich and fertile areas as the dark green, and I'm going to draw others, the contour alongside here, like this. And now in the traditional style of drawing the landmass as the polygon, I would just need to trace the outline. And tracing can always be a bit tricky, especially if many nodes. And this is the advantage of this style. You can just draw the outline of the contour outside. Oop, that's a little bit, I need to go around this here, because it's a hole actually, and this ocean is this part that's been drawn. So the ocean covers everything up that extends beyond the coastline. And there we are, looking very good. And I can now do the next step, because I want to go further to the grassland plain. And here I'm gonna do basically something similar. Like this. And do a second one here. And because Sue has sorted everything nicely in its own sheets, it all goes on top of each other with edge fades from one terrain to the other. So that's pretty good. And now I want to add the background for the mountain range, really. So I'm going to take a look at my terrain stuff here. And I've got the Badlands terrain, and I've got the volcanic stuff, and up here are the alpine, the mountain area textures. So I'm going to start with this one here, and I'm going to draw this here as a polygon way up to the north edge, and then I'm gonna don't need to put this all on within the desert grassland plains fill style. I could just as well overlap that with because that's actually not an elevation but a vegetation cover, so makes sense that they can have different backgrounds. There we go. Let's add a few spurs. And I do want a little bit more of another terrain in there or contour in there. And for that I'm going to grab the Alpine Scorched version. But I'm not going to pull that as far south. There we go. I could also go ahead and take a little bit more look here at the terrain features. I certainly would love some Badlands in here, so I'm going to grab that tool and see how this overlaps with the mountain background and the grass. So I'm just going to put that here. Yeah, it's between the grass and the mountain texture. Zooming in here does help a bit seeing what's going on. And a few patches. And let's have a look. I've got the gray ones as well. So let's put that, see whether this is... No, this actually goes on the same sheet. So see, if I refresh now, you'll see won't see the edge fade because these are meant to each go on the same sheet. So we need to separate these from each other to work. I could of course create a copy of the sheet and to do a second Badlands on top of the other, but that's really overkill. I don't need this at this point. Instead, I'm gonna grab the reddish Badlands and put a patch in here. As Sue says in the chat, you can change the desert and Badland colors by changing the sheet effects if you want to. And that's, but I'm not going to bother about that here. I'm using the tools as produced, as shared, so I'm gonna keep that as it is. What else I'm not gonna bother about the stronger vegetation stuff from the moment, the forest fills and the farmland. That's something for later, but I do want to add some desert stuff. So I'm gonna grab the desert white terrain, and because I want to make a coastal desert here. So I'm going to put that behind the mountain. One, and then here keep a little bit of grasslands, and then gonna do it like this. See how that comes out. And nice, I like that. I could add a little bit here. If I want to desert, make these islands a little bit more deserty. So there we go. Nice. And I want to do a little bit on here. So I'm thinking, like in South America, this is getting very cold towards the end of the continent. So I'm going to take a look at what we've got. Tundra here, light dark tundra, wastes, or perhaps volcanic, snowfields. It's a bit too quick to go to snowfields directly. Let's have a look how this works. If I just put a little bit of volcanic texture on here. Yeah, that covers everything else, which is kind of okay, I guess. There we go, yes. That's okay for the moment, I think. Because next up we are gonna look at some of the contour stuff on the basically the landforms, like hills and things. So we start with take a look at the mountains first, and it's already showing here on screen with the all symbols drawing tool, but we can also just, if you just want the mountain stuff, click the mountain symbol, catalog icon, and we do get all the mountains here. So the way to depict true mountain ranges here is with the ridge symbols. So I'm going to grab one of these here and try it out on the map. These should follow the line of our contours here. So I'm going to put this on here. See, and there you can see the nice ridge line. The nice thing is these behave a little bit like house symbols. So you can basically, the shadow on the ridges is generated automatically depending on the light direction in the map, and so you can rotate these as you desire, and the shadow effects will still be correct, as you can see here. So I'm going to angle this further to the south here. There we go. And this way we do get these nice mountain ridge lines. So next up I'm gonna do a parallel mountain range here, like this. You can overlap them, but it looks a little bit better if you don't. So I'm gonna keep that. Put one in here. So that's looking pretty good, and you can of course also do the same with the side spurs. There we go. You can use the tab key to, if you want to do something smaller here, as I did, to add that there. And if you want to fill this in here, well, we can of course also put something inside these here. I'm going to overlap a little bit. Works still nicely enough, but I'm not so sure that looks convincing. So we've got, actually I haven't used the ripples here. I think they're just smaller ones. Is that correct, Sue? Let's have a look. I'm using the Color version now, so that's why the coloring is a little bit different. I need to grab the default ones there. Yes, and they extend the existing stuff with smaller versions, which is nice. I can just put these on here. Oh, but I've made them smaller accidentally. I didn't want to make them quite as small. So let's undo this here. I've gone a little bit too small. This better. There we go. And I can a little bit smaller so it does fit in here. There we go. And so there you can see the mountain range. And then I'm going to take a look here. I've got some volcanoes, which I can select normal nicely put here on the volcanic texture. Nice big crater lake, very nice. And there we go. Looking pretty good. But they do stand out a little bit here, and we do need some rougher terrain around that, which is not ridges. So we're going to take a look at some of the options we have to do that. One of the first things is just making the ground a little bit rougher, like it is here on the desert already. So for that, we are going to click the contours tool here, and we've got the uneven ground here. We can grab that, and we can just see how this. Oops! Oh, that was a misclick on the edge of the window. So see, and then we can just add this here and see how that looks. See how this works in a larger area, and you can see it does create this little kind of bump map on the background, which also already gives this much more uneven, natural looking look. And we can just do the same here. Add that on the other side of the mountain ridge. There we go. Looking good. That's one way. Then we do have the chameleon hill. Chameleon because it does take the color of the texture it is sitting on. And we can just grab that and place individual hills here. See, default size. So these are larger. So I could put that here and grab these. And if I do refresh, no. That. Okay, I think I've got the name wrong here. Yes, and that's because this is still the development version. This should be fixed in the release thing. See, these end up because I click here and it wants to put them on symbols chameleon hills. That's a spelling error in the symbol that this the sheet the symbol wants to go on, and that has been added at the end of the list because it didn't exist in the template, and so it's on top of everything else, and no sheet effects get applied. So I could, and what I'm going to do to make it simpler, I'm just going to put it right here on the same location as the correctly spelled one. I'm just going to grab all the fill styles, paste them in here, and so I don't have to bother about correcting the symbols or anything, and you'll see this is how the symbols will look when it works correctly. So same here, I can just place them down here, rotate them as usual. Use the tab key to get the ones I want. And do refresh, and there you can see that's the other way to put height elevation changes into the map. And we've got a third one, and that is the tool to draw individual hills. And that's this drawing tool, default bevel hill, and with that you draw every hill individually. So I say I wanted to have one specifically here in a certain shape. I can use the drawing tool to outline the area. Oh, I'm working underneath my video, sorry, my video thing, so I shouldn't be doing that. So you can actually see something. I'm going to grab this and put the hill down here. Should be able to see something if you can see the cursor. Oh, I thought I had turned on the cursor highlight. I see I have not. So let's, and I grabbed the wrong tool there. That's the Snowy Hills one. Must have misclicked. Let's turn on the mouse highlight. Okay, there we go. And now you can better see where I'm actually working at. Let's try that again. Control default bevel hill, and then draw. Yeah, and that's the hill drawn with the individual drawing tool. Can do the same up here. Something on here. And this gives more bumps into the map. And the nice thing is they all merge perfectly into the textures. The textures just sit underneath and it looks all very natural. Alright, so that looks pretty nice. And now next up we're going to put in some vegetation features. So I'm going to click the vegetation catalog button. You see there's no symbols there. That's just all references of drawing tools, which is handy and convenient. So I'm going to put some farmland on the edge of our coast. I notice what I've not done at all yet is actually rivers. So perhaps I should do that first. Let's have a look at the rivers tool. And there we've got, at this scale of map, you won't see anything but the largest rivers. So that's why it's labeled as Amazonian here, I guess. So I'm going to just click that. It's very fitting for our map. And this is again a cutout tool, so I can just click on the sea here somewhere. Oh no, it's not a cutout tool actually. It works because I'm got the sea drawn here. Or is it a drawing cutout tool? Probably not. No, it didn't look like that. So let's just give it a try and draw my river here. There we go. No, it's not a drawing tool. There you can see, no, it's not a cutout tool, but because it's just on the C sheet, and it just merges nicely. So I'm gonna trying to follow my outlines here, my bumps a little bit. Not sure it works perfectly, but it's good enough for us. So. Looks here like the winds are mostly from the east and rain off before. Yes, there we've got a little bit of a. Oh, it's just it works fine here. It's just on the. If I zoom out, it does vanish a little bit behind these textures here, but no worries. It should be fine on an export if it shows as when you zoom in. But I was talking about the rivers. They are it's runoff from the easterly rainy winds, and that's why there's a desert on the other side of the mountains, because not much of the moisture reaches. Oops, that was a zoom in between. All right. And one more river down here. course, we can create a delta, large one, by adding some extra. I'm using the F9, the on key, to connect the river lines to the existing river. And this way we can create a nice delta for the river. Same way we do have the lakes. So I can grab a lake tool and just put in a bit of a polygon. And there's my lake where the river originates. Or I can create a larger one down here. Just drawing across the river line. And there we've got a big lake on the river. Well, that looks good. Can also go on and put some lakes here more in towards the mountain range. And then I might want to connect these. Say I wanted to create something a little bit narrower than the existing ones here. I could go in, click Advanced, Default Amazonian, and let's call it Major. And the properties, see that's a 2 unit or 2 miles width. So let's make that, this is 3 miles width, so let's make it 2. Save, and now I can connect this here to the lake with a little bit of a narrow piece. There we go. It's looking pretty good. So I'm now going to switch to the vegetation I was talking about. I want to add some farmland, and I'm going to do that at the coast. So it's mostly coastly settlements here. So I'm going to do this. And again, I can just keep this to the outside. There we go. Do a refresh, and you see the coastline covers that up very nicely. A little bit more of the farmland down here. And that's pretty good. So next up, then I'm thinking we do need some dense forest and jungle here. So I'm going to grab the forest of the jungle first, and I'm going to put this here on this nice peninsula. Keep it a little bit on the edge. Free of the forest there. There we go. Bit here. Some here. Some here. Then I'm going to switch to the deciduous forest. All this, I should also be able to just overlap these because they are on different sheets. And the nice thing, I can also just draw them across hills, if I am not mistaken. And the shapes will still be visible underneath the forest texture, yes. Let's have a quick check. I haven't checked that, how it works with the rivers. Can I draw this across the rivers? Yes, all nice. They are still above that, and the rivers are visible even across our rivers here. And then finally I'm gonna do some pine forests. So I'm getting further towards the mountains. Just gonna add this here. Still got the badlands there, don't want to go into those. The forests. And of course I would take a little bit more care with this on a finished map if I had a little more time. I'd do more individual pieces and stuff, but for this demonstration purposes, this is working fine. There we are with the vegetation, and I also have stuff like even richer grasslands, so I could go in and add this around the delta I've created here. Oh, this is actually the same as the one we've got in the background already, so that's why this is not visible. So instead we are gonna take a look at some marshes and stuff. We don't have anything here, I guess. We just have, let's have a quick look in the terrain tools. Which, no, we've just got the tundra version. We don't have a swamp or marshland tool. Oh, let's hide the samples. No. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are gonna grab the tundra version, because that looks nice and marshy as well, and just draw this across the... that works perfectly fine as a marsh or swamp. Okay, Sue says that there's even a marsh. Yeah, there's a marsh terrain sheet, so we just don't have a drawing tool for that. Should be easy enough to create. But I'm going to stick with the tundra here. Go. And again, we can just draw all this across the coast. There we are. Very nice. That's looking pretty good already. So I'm gonna spend a little bit of time to adding a little bit more little patches of forest and jungle here, just to make this looking a little bit nicer. Into the islands. Does that work on top of the farmland sheet? Yes, it does. We can mix these by just overlapping that, so the deciduous forest will merge into the jungle forest. Just thinking I don't want to leave the gap here, so what I'm going to do is just going to draw on top of the other jungle. It's a little bit messy, but we can be a bit messy here. So there we go. And you can see already this way we can make this look more natural and nicer. And give the whole thing a little bit more realism. Oh, actually I think I want to draw this as forest here. Top there. Yeah. And now I decide I do want a little bit more hills here. So what I'm just gonna grab the terrain setting and place some hills down here into this area. And again, refreshing will show you that it'll just create these bumps in the texture. See here, this piece should probably have a little bit of height variation. Create some here. And there. It's looking good, pretty good. See there, overlap is not the best thing with these symbols, because then the mask that creates the shadows, overlaps and doesn't work quite correctly. So that's why you've seen this line here, because there's two symbols overlap. So I'm just going to remove this again and keep the old one there. All right. And now we could go in and start adding some structures, points of civilization. We've got cities, and this all works with varicolor. So let's see and do this with red symbols. We could do different symbols for different types for different nations, for example. So I'm going to just grab the circle city and add a few. But this, oh no, actually, the size is fine. That was the cursor highlight that confused me there for a second. Grab these. One here on the river mouth, one here, one here on the island. Then I could grab this symbol, the diamond, for some other locations. Set back to normal. And for castles or special things that you want on your map. And perhaps some triangles for some important mountains, but I'm not going to do these in red. Instead, I'm going to switch to dark gray for that. So I'm going to highlight some peaks with that. There we go. The peak here, the peak here. Could highlight the volcanoes with that. There we go. And then we can add text labels. So see how these are set up. I'm not entirely sure. Can't remember quite now, but I think it was labeled in white text. So let's give that a try. I'm gonna switch to the text labels layer, and I'm gonna send to store. Let's see, that's a little bit large. It's about this size, looks good. I'm gonna top left for the alignment, TNL, and just place this here, yeah. And have a look. Dark outline means we can best use bright text. And there we've got the name of our city there. Okay, so I'm just going to put some labels on the cities here, going with something vaguely resembling French. And here it doesn't fit there quite, so I'm just gonna change the alignment to right and put it on the other side of the symbol. And then we can label these other places as well. So let's do Fort Maniok. Bottom. Fort du Lac. Go. And then if I want to do the mountains, label the mountains, I can switch to something dark instead. I don't want them quite as visible, so I'm gonna we don't have the title text and the ocean labels. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a new sheet, text dark, next to the text sheet. I'm gonna grab the sheet effect that is using, but instead of a dark blue, I'm gonna do a white instead. Or I might actually do a very bright gray. There we go. And then I'm gonna switch to color black. And left. Take a quick look here whether that looks okay. And yeah, there you can see the bright outline. And we can add the other labels. What did I do there? Somehow I lost my text. Okay, yeah, as Sue says, if I no, the text might have gone to the origin of the map. If I might, no, it doesn't. I must have cancelled something. And perhaps it's hidden behind other stuff. No, it shouldn't be. Oh, no matter. It's fine. And there we are. There's my little text labels on the map. We've got a text sheet specifically for the ocean labels, because that's going to blend in more with the blue. Let's have a look and see whether we can do this in a nice dark blue. So let's just call this the Arctic Ocean. No, if I can type correctly. Go, and we're gonna center that, make it larger, see how that looks. Yes, that blends nicely into the water texture. And the Western Ocean, not very creative with the ocean names here. Just do something simple. There we are. And then we can add a map title in the scale bar perhaps. So what we're going to do is I'm going to click the catalog toolbar and load the cutters. And we've got several compass roses available, so I'll just grab one. That's too small. I don't want to keep that. So that looks like a nice size for the map. Got to turn on snap. So actually probably a little bit larger because 10 units 10 snap grid is basically the same as free movement on this big map. So I'm going to do 200 units grid instead, and then you can see the snap. Oh, this is perhaps a bit too large. So instead I'm going to go to the 100 unit snap. And that works nicely. And then I do want to put in, I've got to set this back to normal. Yes, I think a 500 mile scale bar looks about right. But I might want the scale bar a little further up. That looks nice, and I can now also put a map title on the map. Let's have a look here how that looks. Let's just place it Southern Emiri. That's going to be the name of the continent. And this is the southern tip. And this is a bit too small. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab that. Press D for do it. Turn off snap and make the title text larger. But I think I should put it up here and move the ocean label. So I'm going to put that on the top left. And perhaps make the ocean labels also a little bit smaller. Okay, be a little bit less prominent. And there we are. And I'm going to grab the properties of the text title and also make that white. And I'm going to put in N on the compass rose, bottom alignment, turn on snap again. Let's have a quick look on the how large that text is. Depth is, so I'm going to make something much smaller, 25, and label this with 500 miles. So I do have the but the grid is too large to place it nicely, so what I'm going to do is going to go for the 50. There's my 500 miles on the scale bar. Turn off grid, zoom to the map, zoom in a bit, and there's my map that I've done in today's mapping hour, and I'm quite pleased with that. Thank you very much, Sue. That has turned out pretty nicely. Yeah, we could use a little bit more mountain symbols, I guess, and do some fine work on the map, but I didn't expect to be able to do a full map like this within 1 hour, so that is a really nice setup. Works very quickly and nicely, produces great maps. And I hope you saw how to use this mapping style in tonight's mapping video. If you did and liked the video, do like and subscribe. And I hope to see you again next week for another hour of mapping on the Thursday evening. Thanks everybody for watching, whether now or later. And do share your maps on our forum or the Facebook group if you are so inclined. We always love to see other people's maps in our community. Thank you very much. Have a great evening and bye-bye.